Chapter 55. Wills and Testaments. Wasaayaa. Chapter 1. Al-Wasaayaa. Narrated Abdullah bin Umar. Allah's Messenger said, "It is not permissible for any Muslim who has something to will to stay for 2 nights without having his last will and testament written and kept ready with him." Narrated Amr bin al-Harith, the brother of the wife of Allah's Messenger, Juwayra bint al-Harith. When Allah's Messenger died, he did not leave any dirham or dinar, money, a slave or a slave woman, or anything else, except his white mule, his arms, and a piece of land which he had given in charity. Narrated Talha bin Musarrif. I asked Abdullah bin Abu Aufa, "Did the Prophet make a will?" He replied, "No." I asked him, "How is it then that the making of a will has been enjoined on people, or that they are ordered to make a will?" He replied, "The Prophet bequeathed Allah's book, Quran." Narrated Al-Aswad. In the presence of Aisha, some people mentioned that the Prophet had appointed Ali by will as his successor. Aisha said, "When did he appoint him by will? Verily, when he died, he was resting against my chest or sat in my lap, and he asked for a wash basin, and then collapsed while in that state, and I could not even perceive that he had died. So when did he appoint him by will?" Chapter 2. To leave inheritors wealthy than begging others. Narrated Sa'd bin Abu Waqqas. The Prophet came visiting me while I was sick in Mecca. Amir, the sub-narrator, said, and he disliked to die in the land whence he had already migrated. The Prophet said, "May Allah bestow His mercy on Ibn Afra, Sa'd bin Kawla." I said, "O Allah's Messenger, may I will all my property in charity?" He said, "No." I said, "Then may I will half of it?" He said, "No." I said, "1/3? He said, "Yes, 1/3. Yet even 1/3 is too much. It is better for you to leave your inheritors wealthy than to leave them poor, begging others. And whatever you spend for Allah's sake will be considered as a charitable deed, even the handful of food you put in your wife's mouth. Allah may lengthen your age so that some people may benefit by you, and some others be harmed by you." At that time, Sa'd had only one daughter. Chapter 3. To will 1/3 of one's property. Narrated Ibn Abbas. I recommend that people reduce the proportion of what they bequeath. They will by will to the fourth of the whole legacy, for Allah's Messenger said, 1/3, yet even 1/3 is too much. Narrated Sa'd. I fell sick, and the Prophet paid me a visit. I said to him, "O Allah's Messenger, I invoke Allah that He may not let me expire in the land whence I migrated, Mecca." He said, "May Allah give you health and let the people benefit by you." I said, "I want to will my property, and I have only one daughter, and I want to will half of my property to be given in charity." He said, "Half is too much." I said, "Then I will then I will 1/3. He said, 1/3, yet even 1/3 is too much. The narrator added, so the people started to will 1/3 of their property, and that was permitted for them. Chapter 4. The saying of a testator to the executor, look after my son. Narrated Aisha. The wife of the Prophet Utbah bin Abi Waqqas entrusted his son to his brother Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas, saying, the son of the slave girl of Sama is my illegal son. Take him into your custody. So during the year of the conquest of Mecca, Sa'd took the boy and said, this is my brother's son, whom my brother entrusted to me. Abu bin Sams got up and said, he is my brother and the son of the slave girl of my father, and was born on my father's bed. Then both of them came to Allah's apostle, and Sa'd said, O Allah's messenger, this is my brother's son, whom my brother entrusted to me. Then Abu bin Sama got up and said, this is my brother and the son of the slave girl of my father. Allah's messenger said, O Abu bin Sama, this boy is for you, as the boy belongs to the bed where he was born, and for the adulterer is the stone yet deprivation. Then the Prophet said to his wife Sauda bin Sama, screen yourself from this boy. When he saw the boy's resemblance to Utbah, since then the boy did not see Sauda till he died. Chapter 5. If a patient gives an evident clear sign by nodding. Narrated Anas. A Jew crushed the head of a girl between two stones. She was asked, who has done so to you? So and so, till the name of the Jew was mentioned, whereupon she nodded in agreement. So the Jew was brought and was questioned till he confessed. The Prophet then ordered that his head be crushed with stones. Chapter 6. A legal heir has no right to inherit through a will. Narrated Ibn Abbas. The custom in old days was that the property of the deceased will be inherited by his offspring. As for the parents of the deceased, they would inherit by the will of the deceased. Then Allah cancelled from that custom whatever He wished and fixed for the male double the amount inherited by the female, and for each parent a sixth of the whole legacy, and for the wife an eighth or a fourth, and for the husband a half or a fourth. Chapter 7. Giving in charity at the time of death. Narrated Abu Hurairah. A man asked the Prophet, O Allah's Messenger, what kind of charity is the best? He replied, to give in charity when you are healthy and greedy, hoping to be wealthy and afraid of becoming poor. Don't delay giving in charity till the time when you are on the deathbed, when you say, give so much to so and so, and so much to so and so, and at that time the property is not yours but it belongs to so and so, yet your inheritors. Chapter 8. The statement of Allah Azza wa Jal. After the payment of legacies, he may have bequeathed or debts. Narrated Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, the signs of a hypocrite are three. Whenever he speaks, he tells a lie. Whenever he is entrusted, he proves dishonest. Whenever he promises, he breaks his promise. Chapter 9. The explanation of the statement of Allah Ta'ala. After payment of legacies, that they may have bequeathed or debts. Narrated Urwa bin As-Subayr. Hakim bin Hisham said, I asked Allah's Messenger for something, and he gave me, and I asked him again, And he gave me and said, O Hakim, this wealth is green and sweet, yea, as tempting as fruits. And whoever takes it without greed, then he is blessed in it. And whoever takes it with greediness, he is not blessed in it. And he is like one who eats and never gets satisfied. The upper, yea, giving hand is better than the lower, yea, taking hand. Hakim added, I said, O Allah's Messenger, by him who has sent you with the truth, I will never demand anything from anybody after you till I die. Afterwards, Abu Bakr used to call Hakim to give him something, but he refused to accept anything from him. Then Umar called him to give him something, but he refused. Then Umar said, O Muslims, I offered to him, yea, Hakim, his share which Allah has ordained for him from this booty, and he refuses to take it. Thus Hakim did not ask anybody for anything after the Prophet, till he died. May Allah bestow his mercy upon him. Narrated Ibn Umar, I heard Allah's Messenger saying, all of you are guardians and responsible for your charges. The ruler, yea, Imam, is a guardian and responsible for his subjects. And a man is a guardian of his family and is responsible for his charges. And a lady is a guardian in the house of her husband and is responsible for her charge. And a servant is a guardian of the property of his master and is responsible for his charge. I think he also said, and a man is a guardian of the property of his father. Chapter 10. If somebody funds an endowment or bequeaths his relatives by a will. Narrated Anas. The Prophet said to Abu Talha, I recommend that you divide this garden amongst your relatives. Abu Talha said, O Allah's Messenger, I will do the same. So Abu Talha divided it among his relatives and cousins. Ibn Abbas said, when the Quranic verse, warn your nearest kinsman, 26:214, was revealed, the Prophet started calling the various big families of Quraysh, O Bani Fir, O Bani Adi. Abu Hurairah said, when the verse, warn your nearest kinsman, was revealed, the Prophet said in a loud voice, O people of Quraysh. Chapter 11. Are children and women included under the term of relatives concerning wills? Narrated Abu Hurairah. When Allah revealed the verse, warn your nearest kinsman, Allah's Messenger got up and said, O people of Quraysh, or said similar words, Buy, yea, save yourself from the hellfire, as I cannot save you from Allah's punishment. O Bani Abd Manaf, I cannot save you from Allah's punishment. O Safiya, the aunt of Allah's Messenger, I cannot save you from Allah's punishment. O Fatima bint Muhammad, ask me anything from my wealth, but I cannot save you from Allah's punishment. Chapter 12. Can the founder of an endowment have the benefit of his endowment? Narrated Anas. The Prophet saw a man driving a badana, a camel for sacrifice, and said to him, Ride on it. The man said, O Allah's Messenger, it is a bandana. The Prophet repeated his order, and on the third or fourth time he said, Ride it. Woe to you, or said, May Allah be merciful to you. Narrated Abu Hurairah. Allah's Messenger saw a man driving a badana and said to him, Ride on it, and on the second or third time he added, Woe to you. Chapter 13. If one declares his wish to found an endowment. Chapter 14. When someone says, my house is a my house is sadaqah for Allah's sake. Chapter 15. If someone says, my land is sadaqah for Allah's sake, on my mother's behalf. Narrated Ibn Abbas. The mother of Sa'd bin Ubadah died in his absence. He said, O Allah's Messenger, my mother died in my absence. Will it be of any benefit for her if I give sadaqah on her behalf? The Prophet said, Yes. Sa'd said, I make you a witness that I give my garden called Al-Makraf in charity on her behalf. Chapter 16. To give part of wealth or slaves or animals in charity or as an endowment. Narrated Ka'b bin Malik. I said, O Allah's Messenger, for the acceptance of my repentance, I wish to give all my property in charity for Allah's sake. Through his apostle, he said, It is better for you to keep some of the property for yourself. I said, Then I will keep my share in Khaybar. Chapter 17. Whoever gave something to his representative to give in charity, and then the latter returned it to him. Narrated Anas Ra. When the holy verse, by no means shall you attain al-bir, piety, righteousness, it means here Allah's reward, ie paradise, unless you spend of that which you love. V 392 was revealed. Abu Talha went to Allah's Messenger and said, O Allah's Messenger, Allah the Blessed, the Superior stated in his book, by no means shall you attain beer unless you spend of that which you love. V 392. And the most beloved property to me is Bayruha, which was a garden where Allah's Messenger used to go to sit in its shade and drink from its water. I gave it to Allah's Messenger. I gave it to the Allah and His Messenger, hoping for Allah's reward in the hereafter. So Allah's Messenger use it as Allah orders you to use it. Allah's Messenger said, Bravo, O Abu Talha, it is fruitful property. We have accepted it from you, and now we return it to you. Distribute it amongst your relatives. So Abu Talha distributed it amongst his relatives, amongst whom were Ubay and Hassan. When Hassan sold his share of that garden to Muawiyah, he was asked, How do you see Abu Talha's sadaqah? He replied, Who should not I sell a soft dates for sa of money? The garden was situated on the courtyard of the palace of Bani Yadila, built by Muawiyah. Chapter 18. The statement of Allah Ta'ala. And when the relatives and the orphans and al-masakin are present at the time of division. Narrated Ibn Abbas. Some people claim that the order in the above verse is cancelled by Allah. It is not cancelled, but the people have stopped acting on it. There are two kinds of guardians who are in charge of the inheritance. One is that who inherits, such a person should give of what he inherits to the relatives, the orphans and the needy, etc. The other is that who does not inherit, e.g. the guardian of the orphans. Such a person should speak kindly and say to those who are present at the time of distribution, I cannot give it to you, as the wealth belongs to the orphans. Chapter 19. Charity on behalf of a person who dies suddenly, and the execution of the vows. Narrated Aisha. A man said to the Prophet, "My mother died suddenly, and I think that if she could speak, she would have given in charity. May I give in charity on her behalf?" He said, "Yes, give in charity on her behalf." Narrated Ibn Abbas. Sa'd bin Ubadah consulted Allah's Messenger, saying, "My mother died and she had an unfulfilled vow." The Prophet said, "Fulfill it on her behalf." Chapter 20. The witnesses in the foundation of an endowment or in giving in charity. Narrated Ibn Abbas that the mother of Sa'd bin Ubadah, the brother of Bani Sa'ida, died in Sa'd's absence. So he came to the Prophet saying, "O Allah's Messenger, my mother died in my absence. Will it benefit her if I give in charity on her behalf?" The Prophet said, "Yes." Sa'd said, "I take you as my witness that I give my garden al-Makraf in charity on her behalf." Chapter 21. The statement of Allah Ta'ala, "And if you fear that you shall not be able to deal justly with the orphan girls." Narrated As-Suri. Urwa bin As-Subayd said that he asked Aisha about the meaning of the Quranic verse, "And if you fear that you will not deal fairly with the orphan girls, then marry other women of your choice." 4:2-3. Aisha said, "It is about a female orphan under the guardianship of her guardian who is inclined towards her because of her beauty and wealth, and likes to marry her with a mar less than what is given to a woman of her standard. So they, guardians, were forbidden to marry the orphans unless they paid them a full, appropriate mar. Otherwise, they were ordered to marry other women instead of them." Later on, the people asked Allah's Messenger about it, so Allah revealed the following verse. "They ask your instruction, O Muhammad, regarding women, so Allah instructs you regarding them." 427. And in this verse Allah indicated that if the orphan girl was beautiful and wealthy, her guardian would have the desire to marry her without giving her an appropriate mar equal to what her peers could get. But if she was undesirable for lack of beauty or wealth, then he will not marry her, but seek to marry some other woman instead of her. So since he did not marry her when he had no inclination towards her, he had not the right to marry her when he had an interest in her, unless he treated her justly by giving her a full mar and securing all her rights. Chapter 22. The statement of Allah Ta'ala, "If you find sound judgment in them, release their property to them." Chapter 22. How a guardian is to deal with an orphan's wealth. Narrated Ibn Umar. In the lifetime of Allah's Messenger, Umar gave in charity some of his property, a garden of date palms called Famk. Umar said, "O Allah's Messenger, I have some property which I prize highly, and I want to give it in charity." The Prophet said, "Give it in charity, as an endowment, with its land and trees, on the condition that the land and trees will neither be sold nor given as a present, nor bequeathed, but the fruits are to be spent in charity." So Umar gave it in charity, and it was for Allah's cause, the emancipation of slaves for the poor, for guests, for travelers, and for kinsmen. The person acting as its administrator could eat from it reasonably and fairly, and could let a friend of his eat from it provided he had no intention of becoming wealthy by its means. Narrated Aisha. The following verse: "If a guardian is well off, let him claim no remuneration, wages, But if he is poor, let him have for himself what is just and reasonable. 4:6 was revealed in connection with the guardian of an orphan, and it means that if he is poor, he can have for himself from the orphan's wealth what is just and reasonable, according to the orphan's share of the inheritance. Chapter 23. The statement of Allah Ta'ala: those who unjustly eat up the property of orphans. Narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, avoid the 7 great destructive sins. The people inquired, O Allah's Messenger, what are they? He said, to join others in worship along with Allah, to practice sorcery, to kill the life which Allah has forbidden except for a just cause, according to Islamic law, to eat up riba, usury, to eat up an orphan's wealth, to give back to the enemy and fleeing from the battlefield at the time of fighting, and to accuse chaste women who never even think of anything touching chastity and are good believers. Chapter 24. Allah's statement: the best thing is to work honestly in their property. Nafi said, Ibn Umar never refused to be appointed as guardian. The most beloved thing to Ibn Sirin concerning an orphan's wealth was that the orphan's advisor and guardians would assemble to decide what is best for him. When Tawus was asked about something concerning an orphan's affairs, he would recite, and Allah knows him who means mischief from him who means good. V 220. Atta said concerning some orphans, the guardian is to provide for the young and the old orphans according to their needs from their shares. Chapter 25. The employment of an orphan. Narrated Anas. When Allah's Messenger came to Medina, he did not have any servant. Abu Talha, Anas' stepfather, took me to Allah's Messenger and said, O Allah's Messenger, Anas is a wise boy, so let him serve you. So I served him at home and on journeys. If I did anything, he never asked me why I did it, and if I refrained from doing anything, he never asked me why I refrained from doing it. Chapter 26. If somebody gives a piece of land as an endowment and does not mark its boundaries. Narrated Anas bin Malik. Abu Talha had the greatest wealth of date palms amongst the Ansar in Medina, and he prized above all his wealth his garden Bayruha, which was situated opposite the mosque of the Prophet. The Prophet used to enter it and drink from its fresh water. When the following divine verse came, by no means shall you attain piety until you spend of what you love. 392. Abu Talha got up saying, O Allah's Messenger, Allah says, you will not attain piety until you spend of what you love, and I prize above all my wealth, Bayruha, which I want to give in charity for Allah's sake, hoping for its reward from Allah, so you can use it as Allah directs you. On that the Prophet said, Bravo! It is a profitable or perishable property. Ibn Maslama is not sure as to which word is right, profitable or perishable. I have heard what you have said, and I recommend that you distribute this amongst your relatives. On that Abu Talha said, O Allah's Messenger, I will do as you have suggested. So Abu Talha distributed that garden amongst his relatives and cousins. Narrated Ibn Abbas. A man said to Allah's Messenger, my mother died, will it benefit her if I give in charity on her behalf? The Prophet replied in the affirmative. The man said, I have a garden and I make you a witness that I give it in charity on her behalf. Chapter 27. A jointly owned piece of land as an endowment. Narrated Anas. When the Prophet ordered that the mosque be built, he said, O Bani Ari Najjar, suggest to me a price for this garden of yours. They replied, By Allah, we will demand its price from none but Allah. Chapter 28. How to write the endowment. Narrated Ibn Umar. When Umar got a piece of land in Khaybar, he came to the Prophet, saying, I have got a piece of land, better than which I have never got. So what do you advise me regarding it? The Prophet said, If you wish, you can keep it as an endowment to be used for charitable purposes. So Umar gave the land in charity, as an endowment, on the condition that the land will neither be sold nor given as a present, nor bequeathed, and its yield will be used for the poor, the kinsmen, the emancipation of slaves, jihad, and for guests and travelers, and its administrator could eat in a reasonable, just manner, and he also could feed his friends without intending to be wealthy by its means. Chapter 29. The usufruct of an endowment. Narrated Ibn Umar. Umar got some property in Khaybar, and he came to the Prophet and informed him about it. The Prophet said to him, If you wish, you can give it in charity. So Umar gave it in charity, as an endowment, the yield of which was to be used for the good of the poor, the needy, the kinsmen, and the guests. Chapter 30. The foundation of an endowment for building a mosque. Narrated Anas bin Malik. When Allah's Messenger came to Medina, he ordered that a mosque be built. He said, O Bani Najjar, suggest me a price for the garden of yours. They replied, By Allah, we will not ask its price except from Allah. Chapter 31. Animals, property, gold and silver as endowments. Narrated Ibn Umar. Once Umar gave a horse in charity to be used in holy fighting. It had been given to him by Allah's Apostle. Umar gave it to another man to ride. Then Umar was informed that the man put the horse for sale, so he asked Allah's Messenger whether he could buy it. Allah's Messenger replied, You should not buy it, for you should not take back what you have given in charity. Chapter 32. The salary of the administrator of an endowment. Narrated Abu Huraira. Allah's Messenger said, My heirs will not inherit a dinar or dirham, yet money, for whatever I leave excluding the adequate support of my wives and the wages of my employees is given in charity. Narrated Ibn Umar. When Umar founded an endowment, he stipulated that its administrator could eat from it and also feed his friend on the condition that he would not store anything for himself from it. Chapter 33. If somebody keeps an endowment or stipulates that he should benefit by it as the other Muslims do. Abu Abdur Rahman narrated, when Uthman Ra was circled by the rebels, he looked upon them from above and said, Lost you by Allah. I ask nobody but the companions of the Prophet, don't you know that Allah's Messenger said, Whoever will buy and dig the well of Ruma will be granted paradise? And I bought and dug it. Don't you know that he said, Whoever equipped the army of Usra, Tabuk's Ghazwa, will be granted paradise, and I equipped it. They attested whatever he said. When Umar founded his endowment, he said, its administrator can eat from it. The management of the endowment can be taken over by the founder himself or any other person, for both cases are permissible. Chapter 34. To say we will demand its price from none but Allah. Narrated on us. The Prophet said at the time of building the mosque, O Ban al-Najjar, suggest to me a price for your garden. They replied, we do not ask its price except from Allah. Chapter 35. The statement of Allah Azza wa Jal. When death approaches any of you, and you make a bequest. Ibn Abbas Iras said, a man from the tribe of Bani Sam went out in the company of Tamim al-Dari and Adi bin Bada. The man of Bani Sam died in a land where there was no Muslim. When Tamim and Adi returned conveying the property of the deceased, they claimed that they had lost a silver bowl with gold engraving. Allah's Messenger made them take an oath to confirm their claim, and then the bowl was found in Mecca, with some people who claimed that they had bought it from Tamim and Adu. Then two witnesses from the relatives of the deceased got up and swore that their witnesses were more valid than the witnesses of Adi and Tamim, and that the bowl belonged to their deceased fellow. So this verse was revealed in connection with this case. O you who believe, when death approach any of you. V5 106. Chapter 36. The payments of the debts of the deceased. Narrated Jabir bin Abdullah al-Ansari. My father was martyred on the day of the Ghazwa of Uhud and left 6 daughters and some debts to be paid. When the time of plucking the date fruits came, I went to Allah's Messenger and said, O Allah's Apostle, you know that my father was martyred on Uhud's day and owed much debt, and I wished that the creditors would see you. The Prophet said, go and collect the various kinds of dates and place them separately in heaps. I did accordingly and called him. On seeing him, the creditors started claiming their rights. Pressingly, at that time, when the Prophet saw how they behaved, he went round the biggest heap for 3 times and sat over it and said, call your companions, ye the creditors. Then he kept on measuring and giving them till Allah cleared all my father's debts. By Allah, it would have pleased me that Allah would clear the debts of my father, even though I had not taken a single date to my sisters. But by Allah, all the heaps were complete as they were, and I looked at the heap where Allah's Messenger was sitting and noticed as if not a single date had been taken thereof.